Okay. Come on in. Come on in. Let's go here. Let's go. Good evening. Come on in. We're going to give everyone a couple minutes to get on here. We're going to give everyone just a few minutes to get on here. Good evening, those who are tuning in, those who are joining in. Good evening, everybody. Those who are coming in, come on in. Those who are coming in, if you don't mind sharing this. Good evening, Brother Sean. Those of y'all who don't mind sharing this, go ahead and share this. I'm going to give folks just a second to get on here. If you don't mind sharing this, we're going to have some thoughts here. What's up, bro? Elder Frank, my right hand, my main Damie, as Footy Tag would say. We're going to give everyone just a minute to get on here. My brother, Pastor Antoine, man, what's going on, bro? All the way from North Carolina. Man, I missed you at Exponential and the cohort, man. We got to connect soon. That's not just preacher talk. Sister Teresa, good to see you. Good evening. God bless you. Thank you all. Go ahead and share this as you're coming on in. Let me know where you're coming from. If you don't mind, let me know where you're coming from. We're going to get started. Got some real interesting things to talk about tonight. Let me know where you're coming from. For those of y'all who I don't know or who don't know me well, I'm Pastor Quentin Mumphrey of New Hope Church here in Chicago, Illinois. If you want to connect with us online, it's New Hope Covenant Church Chicago is our Facebook page. We're on Instagram at New Hope Chicago, and our website is www.nhccc.org. nhccc.org. Tonight, this evening, we're not going to be on super long tonight, but got some interesting thoughts here. Good evening, Sister Pat. God bless you. Good evening. We got some interesting thoughts I want to share. Some of y'all may know I'm in a teaching series right now called Love Is, dealing with multiple phases of relationships. And this is one of the topics that I tell people all the time that as a pastor, many times the three areas that people have concerns most, the three areas that people are often asked to prayer for, have concerns about the most, tend to be finances, life purpose, mission. What am I doing in the world? What's my direction? Do I stay at this job? Do I look for another job? Do I stay in this city? Do I go to another city? So finances, life, direction, purpose, work, that kind of area. And then the third area, Sister Barnett, God bless you. Good evening. Those of y'all who come in, thank y'all for speaking. Good evening for those of y'all who are coming in. And then the third area that people often have questions about, struggle with, ask prayer for, is this area of relationships. So I would say in my years of ministry, these are the three areas that I consider the hot areas of life. Finances, life purpose, direction, and so forth. And then thirdly, relationships. Because it really deals with three critical questions that we have in life. What am I going to do? Right? What am I going to do? Like that's really the first question we want to deal with, because that's purpose, that's direction. Where am I at and what am I going to do right now? Then the second question is, who am I going to do it with? Who am I going to do life with? Who will I partner with? And I want to share a little bit of that this evening. And then the third question is, what resources do I have to do it along the way while I'm doing it? That's finances. So we're going to deal with relationships tonight. I'm in a teaching series right now called Love Is, dealing with the subject of relationships. And I want to, Sister Ruth, God bless you, all the way from Texas. Thank you for tuning in. So we're going to deal with these areas of relationships tonight. So tonight I want to talk about some seasons and phases of singleness and how you can kind of point and pinpoint where you are. So I hope you're taking notes or able to listen in good and kind of, I want you all to just really be able to kind of tune into what I'm going to share tonight. I want to look at some things in Scripture. I want to just kind of anchor ourselves in Genesis 2, verses 18 through 25 tonight. Christian, good evening. God bless you. Want to anchor our thoughts in Genesis chapter 2. One of the things that I often tell people is that when you want to understand God's original purpose for something, you have to consult the source, right? Whenever you want to know the original, Sister Monique, God bless you. God bless you. One of our people, Hope Nation in the house. Whenever you want to know the original purpose, and Dr. Miles Monroe, the late, great Dr. Miles Monroe used to often say this, whenever you want to know the purpose for a thing, consult the creator of the thing. And so when you want to know the purpose for relationships, we got to consult God. And when we consult God about relationships, we go to the book of beginnings, which is the book of Genesis. In the book of Genesis chapter 2, we find the first instance about relationships. Sister Latasha, God bless you. We find the beginnings of relationships in the book of Genesis chapter 2. And in Genesis 2, there are some things that God records here. In verse 18, it says that God looked, and then God said that it's not good that the man should be alone. I will make a helper or a partner that is suitable for him. And the Bible then says that in verse 19, out of the ground the Lord formed every beast, and he brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. Whatever Adam called them, that was their name. Verse 20, so Adam gave names to the cattle. I'm kind of moving through this a little quickly here I don't want to keep y'all on here too late tonight. He gave names to the cattle, to the birds of the field, to the beasts and everything. But for Adam, verse 20, Genesis 2 and verse 20, if you're taking notes, for Adam, there was not found a helper suitable or comparable to him. And verse 21 says, the Lord caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs, and he closed it thereof. And then verse 22, the rib that the Lord took from Adam, he made a woman and brought her to the man. And verse 23, Adam says, this is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She will be called woman because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. All right, so I'm kind of dealing with this all this month, and I'm going to have some help at some point this month in dealing with this. I'm going to ask a couple of my friends and colleagues to kind of come in and chime in with some of their thoughts on this, especially when we start talking about the marriage phase. When we get for the singleness part, but when we get to start talking about marriage and divorce and things like that, I'm going to ask a few of my friends to come on with me and join in the conversation with me. But tonight, I want to deal a little bit with singleness, according to God's intent in Genesis 2. I've been teaching on this the last couple of weeks, and I want to kind of walk through some of these things, if you're taking notes. And so, in relationships, relationally, and New Hope, you all heard a little bit of this yesterday. Relationally, you have four phases, four areas in which you can find yourself in. You are either single, never married, you are married, or you are divorced. Hey, Nisha, what's going on? Or you're divorced, or you're widowed. Every adult person is in one of those four categories. Either you're single, never married, or you're married, or you're divorced, or you are widowed. Let me just say this. It's complicated. It's not a category. All right? There is no such category as it's complicated. You're either single, never married, or you're married, or you're divorced, or you're widowed. There is no category of it's complicated, all right? You got to be in one of those four categories. Situationships is not a category, all right? You're either one of those four areas. Let me just say this. Singleness is not second class. I know many times, especially sometimes in the church, sometimes being single, hey, Tisa, what's going on? That's my designer. She is thebomb.com. If you need any design work, website and stuff, give her a holler. She does great work. You see the flyers and everything that we do and that we have. That's her work. She does phenomenal work. Here's the thing. Everyone is in one of those four areas, and so single is not second class. I know many times we make this thing about, single equals second class. If you're taking notes, write that on your screen. Single is not second class. If you're taking notes, write that on your screen. Single is not second class. Being single does not make you second rate, does not make you second class. It does not make you less than anyone. It does not make you less valuable. It does not make you less viable than anyone. Single is not second class. As a matter of fact, it's amazing to see how some churches discriminate even against pastors. I know some pastors who rush to get married because they want to get a church. But the reality is, some of the churches who don't want to have a single pastor, Jesus would not be allowed to be their pastor. Isn't that amazing? That you have a church that Jesus would not be allowed to be their pastor. So there are some churches that don't want a single pastor. And then not only would Jesus not be able to be their pastor, but the Apostle Paul would not be able to be their pastor. And we'll get into some of that later. So let's get into this now. So we have these four categories: single, never married, married, divorced, and widowed. First thing about being single is not second class. And then the other thing is that marriage is not an idol. It is a covenant that requires hard work. Marriage is not an idol. It is a covenant that requires hard work. Here's the unfortunate thing about the world that we live in today. Because of comparison, the dangers of social media, one of the dangers of social media is comparison. And I tell my church all the time, we are comparing our whole movie to somebody else's highlight. You all know how when you go to the movies and you see the little 30-second preview of a movie that's coming out. Can you still be considered single if you are divorced? Yes. So let me go through the 4 categories again for those of you who have tuned in late. There are 4 categories that a person can be in. You're either single, which is never married, or you are married, or you are divorced, which is single again, or you are widowed, which is also single again. All right. So generally, you're either single or you're married. And then for those who are single, you can be never married, you can be divorced, or you can be widowed. All right. And the Bible has a lot to say about all of those categories. So we're going to kind of walk through a little bit of this tonight, and then some I'm going to pick up at a later time. But when we go through Genesis chapter 2, it gives kind of a detail of God's original intent for singleness. The first thing that we see is that God looked at Adam and said, it's not good that the man be alone. Here it is. Relationships, connections, marriage, partnership was God's idea. Notice, Adam didn't go to God and say, hey, God, I need a woman. I need some help. I need companionship. Brother needs some help here. God brought it up. God looked at the man. He looked at Adam and said, it's not good that he should be alone. I'm going to make a helper suitable or comparable to him. Now, as I said earlier, when you want to find God's original intent for something, you got to go back to the Word of God and find where God created the thing. So in Genesis 2, we find God instituting relationships here. All right. So going back, you're either single, which is single, never married, or you're married, you're divorced, or you're widowed. Let me say this right here to help somebody, because I think some folks get confused on some things. You're single until you're married. Let me say that one more time. You are single until you're married. Well, Pastor, we've been together 5 years. Did y'all stand at the altar? Did you exchange rings? No, you're still single. But we've been together 10 years. You're still single. And let me just say this. If you've been together 10 years and y'all still don't know if y'all want to marry each other, that might be a problem. That might be a problem. Now, if you're just one of those people who say, I don't want to be married, then that's your choice. But if you're a person who wants to be married and you've been with somebody 10 years and you can't make up your mind or they can't make up their mind, that might be a problem. You might need to consult Gladys Knight when she said neither one of us wants to be the first to say goodbye. All right. Anyway, so going back to Genesis. So again, you're single until you're married. Well, we got a child together. You're still single. Well, we live together. You're single and shacking, right? And again, I'm not judging people. I'm just here to say what the Word of God says, and what you do with it is on you. People can choose to do whatever they want in relationships, and you deal with it, right? So the reality is, though, for some people who want to be married, and I think part of the thing is you have to be honest with yourself whether you want to be married or not. If you want to be married, then you should also be looking for someone who also shares the desire to be married. There are plenty of people who don't want to be married, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, the Apostle Paul, I'm not going to deal with that tonight. We'll deal with this in another time. But the Apostle Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians 7, he said that it's good to be single. He said, those who are single, you have more freedom to serve God. And some people are like, yep, it's good to be single. The irony is today, I talk to so many people that single folk want to be married and married folk wish they were single again. I'm not going to get into that one too much. I'm going to leave that alone. But there's a lot of single people that want to be married, a lot of married people that wish they were single again. Here's part of the problem, and I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about social media and comparison. With social media and sometimes with what you see in someone's life, and not through social media, you're looking at the highlight. In other words, you're looking at the little snippet of somebody's life that you see through a phone or through a picture. And you see hashtags like relationship goals, because you see them taking a cute picture on vacation. You don't know their story. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what they've gone through. Even if you see couples who have a healthy, godly marriage and they're happy, they went through some things to get to the point of having a happy, strong, solid marriage. So it doesn't just happen overnight. But the reality is sometimes we compare our whole movie to someone else's highlight. You know what the highlight takes a good 30 seconds of the movie, and it shows you enough of the highlight so that you want to go see the whole movie. But how many of us have ever seen a highlight of a movie in a preview? You saw a preview of a movie, and it made you want to go see the movie. But then when you got to see the actual movie, you were disappointed. Anybody ever had that experience before? I have. And you realized that you sat through the movie, and the only funny part was the 30-second highlight that you saw. The rest of the movie, you were sitting there asleep. Well, sometimes life is like that. What you see in social media, what you see even sometime in church or at work, you see the highlights of people. Many people are not going to tell you the low points. There's an old song that used to say that the God on the mountain, he's still God in the valley. But the reality is many people will only share with you the mountain. They don't share the valley. Many people only want to share the highlight. Many people only want you to see the part of their life that's enviable, the part of their life that looks wonderful, that looks cute, that everybody wishes they had. So you see them holding hands on the beach. You see them dressing up and going on a nice little date. And you sit up there thinking, I wish I had a date and go out. Or if you're with somebody, be like, they don't take me out on a date like that. And you're wishing and you're comparing your singleness or your relationship to what you see in someone else's life. That's dangerous, because you can be coveting something. You can be envious of something, and you don't even know what that thing is. Here's the other problem. There's a whole lot of people that want a wedding but don't want a marriage. Let me say it one more time. There's a whole lot of people that want a wedding but don't want a marriage. They want to get dressed. They want to wear a tuxedo or a gown and stand in a church or in a banquet hall or outside or wherever they have it. And they want to look cute. They want to look pretty. They want to have all their family there. They want to have all their friends around them. They want to have people applaud them saying how beautiful it is. They want to get gifts and all this kind of stuff and spend a whole lot of money. But I know people who have spent $40,000, $50,000, and $60,000 on a wedding and spent hardly any time being married, and it ended quickly. Because they prepared for a wedding but didn't prepare for a marriage. Let me just say this to anyone who is dating, courting, or seriously involved, or you're contemplating marriage with someone, or you may be even engaged. Do not spend all of your time together preparing for a wedding and not spend your time preparing for the marriage. Because let me tell you something. After the cake has been cut, after the gifts have been opened, after the envelopes have been unwrapped, and you took all the money out the envelope, so you was disappointed because there wasn't no money in the envelope, after all the people have gone home, after you have put that gown away, after you've taken the tuxedo off, after the preacher's gone and all that has happened, you have to live together. You have to figure life out together. You got to figure out between the two of you, how we going to do this thing? Because I heard it said once years ago by a leader, one pastor said many years ago, that marriage can either be the coming together of two lives or the collision of two histories. Let me say that again. Marriage can either be the coming together of two lives or the collision of two histories. What does that mean? If you marry someone, you have your baggage, because all of us have some kind of baggage in life. We go through life, we carry baggage. It is not a question of whether you have baggage or not. It is a question of how you manage the baggage that you have, how you deal with the baggage you have, whether you become whole from your past experiences, your hurts, the wounds of your past, the rejections that you've dealt with, the betrayals that you've dealt with, all the things that have happened in your past. Have you healed from that? Have you been whole? Sometimes you need prayer, you need Jesus, and you need a therapist. And sometimes as Christians, we don't always say that, but sometimes you need Jesus and a therapist. All right? So many people want a wedding but don't want a marriage. And let me just say this again. Don't spend all your time dreaming about this cute little beautiful wedding, so much so that you don't prepare for the marriage that follows the wedding. Because your wedding can be a little house on the prairie, but your marriage can be a nightmare on Elm Street. All right, you got to be a little old school to catch and get those analogies, the TV show and the movies, right? Don't spend all of your time preparing for a wedding and not preparing for a marriage. You have to prepare for life after I do. For those who want to be married, and anybody who's either married or divorced or been married before, you can testify to that. You know that there's a whole lot of hard work and there's a whole lot of life that comes after I do. It's hard, right? And so let me go back to singleness. And as I said, it's dangerous to compare your life, yourself, and your situation to what everyone else has. Let me say this to you who are watching. God has a unique journey, a unique purpose, and a unique destiny for you. that means that how God deals with you in your life is not how God is going to deal with everybody else. And your friend may have a cute little story. You know, they met in college and they got proposed to after graduation. All this kind of stuff, and they have the cute little house with, you know, the 2.5 car garage and 2.5 kids, a dog, a cat, and a white picket fence, and you're looking at their life, but that God may take you a different route, and so God has a unique plan and a path for all of us. And the reality is, we all want to be able to carve our own path and tell God how our path should work. But it may not work like that for you. And so what you have to do is say, this is what I want. I want to be married, or I don't want to be married. Now let me get with God to figure out what the pathway to that looks like. So dealing with singleness, I want to kind of target a few things. I want to talk about 4 different kinds of single people. 4 different kinds of single people. And I might step on some toes with this, but it's okay. It's my life, and okay. All right. 4 different kinds of single people. Are you ready? There are those who are single and struggling. Somebody type that on your screen. Single and struggling. The first category of singles are those who are single and struggling. What is single and struggling? Single and struggling are people who struggle with their singleness. They don't like being single. They're unhappy about being single. They are miserable, and they're going to make everybody around them miserable. They're single and struggling. Single and struggling are people who, they don't like you, they don't like nothing, and some of y'all have met this. Some of y'all have met some people who are single and struggling. They're bitter, they're angry, they're resentful. They're unhappy, and they make everyone else unhappy. Single and struggling. These are people who are bitter. They just mad at life. They mad at the world. You say good morning, it ain't that good. You say, ain't this a beautiful day? No, it ain't that beautiful. I mean, they see the bad in everything. But what they don't say is the reason they're bitter and grumpy and angry all the time is really because they're lonely. Or they've been hurt in their past and they've not healed. And the reality is, watch this, when you've been hurt, it's imperative that you give yourself a season to heal from that hurt. So if you've gone through a bad breakup, if you've gone through a divorce, if you've been in a situation where you were cheated on, where you were lied to, where your heart was broken, it's important that you take some time and heal from that. That means you might need to go to therapy, you might need prayer, or a combination of both. You may need to get around your friends and spend some time with your family and heal from the hurt that you've just gone through. Don't rush into something after you've just been through a hurt. Because sometimes people get on this rebound kick and they're like, well, they don't want me. Somebody else going to want me. They did me wrong. I'm going to find somebody else. No. Don't do that, because you will mess up your life and someone else's life because you're not healed. So people who are single and struggling, they've not healed. They're bitter and they're angry and they're just mean. You meet some people, you're scared to speak to them because they just look mean and mad. And so they're single and struggling. The second category of people are those, y'all ready for this one? Are what I call single and sinning. Single and sinning. Single and sinning. Single and sinning, SINNING, or as Bernie Mac would say in the movie Friday, sinny, sin. Yes. Single and sinning are people who are just wilding out doing everything under the sun. I'm talking about they have no boundaries. They have no restraints. They will sleep with any and everybody they meet. They ain't need to know their last name. But single and sinning means you out there talking about you going to live your best life, but you are buck wild and you're just doing everything under the sun, right? Single and sinning, you have no restraint, right? Anything go, you just doing whatever you want to do, whatever you're big and bad enough to do. You're single and sinning, all right? There's a lot of people today who are single and sinning. And I'm not judging you. I don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. That's between you and Jesus, all right, or whoever you worship. But here's the thing. Single and sinning is also single and stealing. Why do you say single and stealing? Because here's the thing. While you're playing games with other people's hearts and bodies, you got your hands or other stuff on somebody else's future husband or wife. You're single and stealing because you are robbing someone of their future and their destiny. You are robbing someone else of their potential. You are putting them and yourself in a situation where you're going to create soul ties and other bonds and connections that you're going to have to get past later. And so what you're doing is creating more baggage. If you're single and sinning, you're creating more baggage. Single and sinning is really single and stealing. You are stealing someone else. You're robbing their future. You're trading $1 million future for a nickel's worth of right now. And so if you're single and stealing, that means you're creating heartache in the long run. You're making decisions that you're going to regret later. You're doing some stuff that you're gonna wish later that you could undo. How many of us, don't say anything, but many of us have made mistakes in life. The reality is some of us have made some mistakes. You wish you could go back 5 years and undo that relationship. Somebody wishes they could undo their a previous marriage. Many of us have made mistakes in life, and you realize that the mistakes you made hindered your future. And so when you're single and sinning or single and stealing, what you're doing is you're hindering your future and theirs. And so the reality is, if you know that person that you're with and you've been with them for a space of time, and you know that that's not who you are, who God has ordained for your life, and you know that's not who you choose to be with and you desire to be with in the long term, let them go. Release them. If you know that that's not for you, let them go and release them. And let them go find who God has for them, and you go find who God has for you after you heal. Right? Don't waste people's time. Don't play games. Don't do all that kind of stuff. Right? And because it's also selfish. If you're single and sinning, you're being selfish, because what you're doing is you're taking somebody who you don't see in your future in order to satisfy in your present. You're robbing their future to satisfy or to placate your own present. That is selfish and it's wrong. I said it. It's wrong and it's selfish. All right? So that's single and sinning. Third category, third area for singles. Y'all ready for this? I hope y'all ready. We're going to have some real talk. Third category of singles are those who are single and seeing. Single and seeing, S-E-E-I-N-G, seeing. In other words, I'm about to see something. I'm about to see what's going to happen. Single and seeing means those who, you have a prospect, you have someone in mind, and let me just say this. You have a prospect who knows they're a prospect and who sees you as a prospect. Okay? Let me clarify that. Because you got a whole bunch of folk who are talking about, I'm single and seeing, and that other person don't even know you exist. Or they don't even know your name. Right? Because some people call themselves single and seeing, but you really just single and stalking. All right? If you talking about that's my prospect, that's my future boo, future bae, and they don't even know your name, they don't know you exist, they don't even know who you are, you got some stalker tendencies, that's not single and seeing. And it's okay to have a crush. You might have a crush, but that's not a prospect. You can't call somebody a prospect if they don't even know who you are and they don't know you exist. They're only a prospect if you all have had a conversation and you have agreed that we're going to see. So single and seeing, the third category of singles, single and seeing, are people who are determining and asking the question, is this person someone I can see in my future? Does this person have the potential to be a future mate? Yeah, some people are single and stalking. Single and seeing means I am trying to evaluate whether this person has the qualities that I need and desire in a mate, in a future spouse, in a life partner. Do they have what I need and what I'm looking for? Or as Genesis 2 says, going back to Genesis 2, notice God didn't say, I'm going to make Adam someone that's cute. He didn't say, I'm going to make Adam somebody with money. He didn't say to Adam, he didn't say, I'm going to make Adam a woman with 36, 24, 38. Right? He didn't say any of that. He said, I'm going to make Adam, Genesis 2, I'm going to make Adam a helper that is comparable and suitable for him. The key word here is suitability. So if you're single and seeing, meaning I'm going to see what happens. Let me see what's to this person. Let me evaluate this. Single and seeing means you're in interview mode. Single and seeing is an interview phase. That's dating with purpose. That's courting. That's trying to evaluate if this person has qualities that you need and desire in a person. Single and seeing means you are looking at each other to evaluate whether or not there is a future and you can move forward. Single and seeing means you have questions that you want to ask them. They have questions they want to ask you. And the purpose of the questions is to determine whether there is potential beyond just the phase that you are. Here's the other thing. In this phase that you should be also cultivating a level of friendship. Because in order to have a life partnership with somebody, you need to cultivate a friendship with the person. This is why I tell people all the time, don't jump into it. I know we live in a day and time where everybody's doing everything sexually and there's no restraint. I'm old school and I believe that the Bible says that we should flee fornication. Now I know that people fall and they stumble, and I'm not judging you. I'm not beating up on anybody for any stumbling or falling. But what I am saying is you got to be careful jumping into bed with people because you don't even know them. You have to cultivate a friendship with a person, right? Get to know them. Get to know their soul. How do they think? What's their mindset? What kind of person are they emotionally? Are they emotionally stable or are they crazy? Do they get mad quick? What makes them mad? Do you even know what makes them mad? What do they find funny? What makes them laugh? Do they have a sense of humor? Do you even know that? Have you seen them laugh? Have you seen them get mad? What kind of person are they? What's their intellect like? Can you have a conversation about what you're reading right now and they understand? Are you compatible intellectually? All right. So single and seeing is the phase of life where you're evaluating whether this person has qualities that you need in a mate and a future spouse. But here's the thing. If you're single and seeing, you got to know yourself. Pause, Selah. Let that sink in right there. If you're single and seeing, you got to know yourself. Can they read? Right. You need to know whether they can read. Can they spell? Or do they read like Floyd Mayweather? I'm sorry for all the Mayweather fans. I'm sorry. I know that's y'all's boy. But you need to know some things about this person. What's their background, right? Do they have a history of abusing people that they date? Those are some real questions you need to ask. Have you ever been in a fight with somebody you were dating or were married to or that you've been with? Are you a beater or a cheater? Right? Do you have a history? Listen, you need to find out if you're single and seeing, you need to find out, is that person a beater or a cheater? Because if they're a beater or cheater, you need to be careful with that. And then you need to be careful too. And this is why you don't mess with married people, because what goes around will come around. And you talking about, well, they going to leave their wife? Have they been in jail? That's a good question. Have they been in jail? How long were they in jail? What did they go to jail for? You need to know all those questions. Ask a lot of questions. If you're single and seeing, if you're in this phase number 3 of single and seeing, you need to be asking a lot of questions. Don't be so caught up on the physical and the flesh. A lot of people get caught up in the flesh and in the physical and be like, and brothers, you be like, man, her booty, this and this and that. Oh man, you see that cleavage? No, and I know I'm being very blunt and very raw, but we got to hear this kind of stuff because we think this kind of stuff. But you got to think about more than lips and hips and all that kind of stuff. You got to be looking at more than booty when you're single and seeing. You got to be looking at what kind of intellect they have. Sisters, don't be worried about what he got downstairs and whether he got a 6-pack and whether he got 6 figures. No, what's in his head? Where are they at spiritually? Are y'all spiritually compatible? The book of Amos chapter 2 verse 2 says, how can two people walk together unless they are agreed? Do they agree with you on? Now again, this don't mean that you agree on everything, because you will have disagreements with anybody. But do they agree on core life principles? Do they share your values, right? Do they worship the God that you worship? Do they share your value system? In other words, if you're family oriented, don't get with somebody who doesn't believe in family, right? You got to ask a lot of questions. Yes, Sister Yonda, asking questions saves you a lot of heartache and frustration, and it can save you a whole lot of time. The reality is some of us get into a relationship or a situationship or whatever you want to call it, because we got a lot of different labels and titles for stuff these days. We get into stuff and you find out stuff a year down the line, 2 years in, that if you had asked enough questions on the front end, you would have saved yourself some time and heartache. Some of us get into some stuff, and again, please share this if you're on here watching, if this is helping you, if this is blessing you, if this makes sense, please share this. But if you are single, you need to be asking a lot of questions to anyone who you consider a prospect, because you need to know them as well as you can. Is this person someone who I can be friends with? You got to ask that question. If I didn't like them physically, if I wasn't interested in them, if I wasn't aroused or enticed by them, if I didn't like them, is this someone who I could see as a friend? Right? Because here's the thing. Let me just be honest and being real here. I'm being very blunt and honest here. If you only like them physically, but you could not see yourself being friends with them at all, you're in your flesh, and it's a lustful attraction. It ain't love, it's lust. And if it's only built on lust, it's not going to last, and it's not going to work, and it's not going to be healthy. A lustful situation. Now, again, if you marry somebody, you need a physical attraction, right? You can't just marry somebody because, oh, they so nice. She just sweet. She got such a sweet spirit. No, you need to be attracted to them if you marry them, because there is a physical and a sexual part of marriage. So you need to be physically attracted to them. Now, again, that don't mean that they got to be a model. Watch this. Your friends don't even have to think they cute, but you got to think they cute, right? If you're going to marry them, you have to be physically attracted to them. There's a holistic thing. But can you be friends with this person? Does this person have qualities that you can see as having a friend? Is this someone you can talk to? Is this somebody that you can have conversation with? Is this somebody, because the reality is marriage is more than just sex. You need to be blessed from the bank account to the bedroom. You need to be able to have a blessed marriage on all levels, because it's not all wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. You need to know, can we have a real conversation? Do they want kids? What do they feel about work? If you're going to date somebody and you're thinking about being with them long term, do they like to work? Do they believe in work? Do they embrace legal work? Legal jobs, right? Do they have a problem being poor? Or are they okay with just living wherever? And so you got to begin to ask these questions. Ask a lot of questions. If you're in the phase where you are single and seeing, where you're evaluating this person, where you're checking out their potential, whether you're seeing what kind of possibility they have to be with you in a future sense, you got to ask a lot of questions. A lot of questions. Matter of fact, even if you're single and you're not seeing anybody right now, you should take this time in this season of your life to write out some questions that you would ask a potential spouse or potential mate or potential person that you would date or be with. Write out some questions that you would ask. This will help you that when you meet someone who has potential, you already got a list of questions that you can ask them. You already have stuff that you're going in the situation wanting to know. So in other words, you're not only sitting there on your first date talking about what your favorite color is. You like shrimp? You eat crab legs? No. You need to have more questions than that, right? You need to ask more questions than what's your favorite food? What color do you like? What kind of, no. You need to be able to have some deeper questions. Now, don't ask them all on the first date because then you're going to sound like Inspector Gadget or like you're an FBI agent. You're trying to interrogate them and this is going to be too intense. But over time, as you're getting to know them, begin to ask a lot of questions. What is their view on family? What was their family background like growing up? That will tell you a lot about a person's temperament, a lot about their personality, and a lot about the way they view the world. What was life like for them growing up? Now, again, this is not judging them based on what it was like growing up, but it will tell you what their expectations are and what yours are. If you all were raised very differently, that doesn't mean it can't work. It can work, but you got to have an understanding of where they come from and where you come from, because if you got different expectations, you got to be able to deal with that, right? So ask a lot of questions in the single and seeing phase. This is a phase where you got to know yourself real well. You got to know your triggers. You got to know what you like, what you don't like. You got to have what I call your non-negotiables. Somebody write that down, non-negotiables. Anybody who is single and seeing, or if you hope to be single and seeing one day, if you hope to be one day in a situation where you're with somebody that you think has future potential, you got to have a list of your non-negotiables. What are their non-negotiables? What are your non-negotiables, in other words? What are the things that you know you can't deal with? What are the things in a person that you say, absolutely, I can't deal with this, right? Is one of your non-negotiables smoking? Let's just be real and honest here, right? If you say, I can't be with nobody that smoke, that needs to be on that, and don't play with that. Here's the other thing. When you write down your non-negotiables for a person, be honest with yourself and with them about what your non-negotiables are, and don't lie to yourself. Many people know their non-negotiables, but they try to negotiate and lie to themselves and say, well, that's one of my non-negotiables, but I could probably deal with it. No. If you know it's a non-negotiable, be honest and upfront. Many people, let me just say this, in relationships, one of the biggest problems, one of the biggest frustrations in relationships is unmet expectations. Let me say that one more time. This is going to help somebody tonight. One of the biggest problems in relationships is unmet expectations. You were expecting something that they did not do, that they did not measure up to, or that they did not meet. And you're mad at them because your expectation wasn't met, but they're telling you, well, I don't know why you expected that, because I never said I was going to do X, Y, Z. Unmet expectations are a major cause of friction and frustration and hurt and disappointment in relationships. If you have expectations that they are not meeting, and sometimes they say, well, I never said I was going to do that. But what happens is sometimes we have unspoken expectations. In other words, you in the back of your head are telling yourself, yeah, I'm going to get them to do this, right? So if you know that spiritually you're on fire for God, you're passionate about God, and you're passionate in your faith, and you talking about, well, they don't go to church, or they're not born again, they're not a believer, or they don't share my faith. Well, that might be a problem in the long run, because then they laying in bed on Sunday and you going off on them time. Why don't you ever get up and go to church with me? Well, they weren't going to church. They weren't doing that before they met you. So now you're trying to change them and you're mad at them, but they were who they are before you met them, right? Or if you know that one of your non-negotiables is that they smoke and you mad, they always sit up there smoking. Well, they were smoking before you met them. Now you're angry at them because they're doing what they did before they met you. Unmet expectations, right? If you know that you like somebody that's fit and that's athletic and that works out, don't get with somebody who don't believe in working out. And if that's a non-negotiable for you, now for some people it's a negotiable, but if it's a non-negotiable, then you up there calling them fat and lazy and you're mad that they don't do it. No, you knew what you were getting into going in, right? If your non-negotiable is that they be able to cook, don't get mad that they burn stuff. Don't get mad that they burn the biscuits and they can't boil water, they can't boil a hot dog. They told you they couldn't cook. Don't be up there talking about, my grandmother made biscuits. That ain't your grandmama. She told you she can't make no biscuits. Why you mad? Right? So you got to identify your non-negotiables. What are the things that you know you need, right? What do you need conversationally? What do you need emotionally? What do you need physically? So know your non-negotiables if you're single and seeing, right? Last category I'm going to get to is those who are single and satisfied. Single and satisfied. Single and satisfied are people who say, you know what? I'm good. I'm straight. I'm cool. I'm happy with where I'm at in life. I'm content. If God sends me somebody, I'm good. If I don't meet anybody right now, I'm okay with that too. I'm single and satisfied. The reality is all of us should be striving to get to the point in our lives. Those who are single should be striving to get to the point in our lives where we are single and satisfied. We should all be striving to get to the place where we are single and satisfied. Here's why. If you're single and you're not satisfied, what will happen is you will allow your happiness and your joy and contentment to hinge upon and be predicated upon another person. And what you're doing in that situation is you're putting the control over your peace of mind, over your well-being, and over your happiness in someone else's hands. Never put your peace, your contentment, your joy, your happiness, your peace of mind in someone else's hands. Because then you're making them responsible for making you happy. I've heard so many people say stuff like, well, they don't make me happy. Well, they really don't have the power to make you happy. What they can do is help complement the happiness that you already have in your life. Because if you're single and satisfied, you're not asking a person to make you happy. If you're single and satisfied, what you're doing is saying, I'm already happy. I already got peace. I'm already content. All I'm saying for you is when you come into my life, don't pull me down. Don't drag me down. Don't steal the joy that I have. Don't take away my happiness. And so what you need to do is get to the place where you're single and satisfied, where you're pursuing purpose, where you're building your life goals. You're building out the life that you believe that God has for you. You're pursuing destiny. You're living a fruitful life, that you're in a place of being happy. Don't delay happiness waiting on another person. You talking about, well, I'm gonna take a nice trip when I get me somebody. Take the trip now. Well, no, I'm going to get me a house once I get married. No, get your house now. I'm going to clean my credit up once I get me somebody. No, clean your credit up now. I'm going to start a business when I get me a husband or wife. No, start your business now. Don't delay. Don't wait. Don't put off until the future what you can do right now. Don't wait for this person that you hope to meet someday, somewhere, somehow to be happy, to pursue purpose, to live a life of service for God. Well, I'm going to get my walk with God together as soon as I get married. No, get it together now. Serve the Lord while you can. Give your heart to Jesus now. Don't wait. Because the reality is, we date not just at our level, but we date at the level we feel we deserve. What does that mean? We tend to date at the level we feel we deserve. In other words, you might be a person who's got your life together, but if you don't feel like you deserve a certain caliber of person, you won't ever pursue it or seek it out because you'll feel like, well, I don't deserve this. And so you'll get people that you feel you deserve. God could have someone for you that will meet everything that you need. God could have someone for you that's a person of your dreams, but because you don't feel like you deserve it, you don't get it. So we don't date at our level. We date at the level we feel we deserve. Watch this. Have you ever seen somebody and you be like, and you saw their mate and you're like, how he get her? How she get him? Okay, let me just be real, right? Brothers, have you ever seen a dude that you knew was busted and broke down with a fine woman? Sisters, have you ever seen an ugly chick with a man that you was like, oh my God, look at him. No. You ever seen an ugly person get a fine person and you like, how they get them? Because they thought they deserved it. They told themselves they deserve it and they told themselves they could have it. Sometimes you look at somebody and they could be jacked up, tore up from the floor up. Lives are in our shambles. And they can get a person that you wish you had because they date at the level they feel they deserve. Watch this. That ugly brother that you saw get the fine woman told himself that he could pull her. That ugly brother that you saw get the fine woman told himself, I can get her. I can have her. I deserve her. That jacked up, busted sister that's got the good looking brother that you wish you had, ladies, she told herself, you know what? I'm going to get him. I can get him. Yeah. I know he gonna like me. We date at the level we feel we deserve. And also here's the thing. People who are happy and content and living in peace want somebody who's doing the same. Think about this. If you're living a life of purpose, you're pursuing the purpose that God created you for. You working your job, you're running your business, you have a happy life, you're traveling, you're living your best life, you're buying your house, you're paying off debt, you're building your future. You don't want to get with somebody who's miserable and who's unhappy and who's not working on anything and who's not trying to build a life for themselves. So why would you want somebody to do the same for you? We date at the level we feel we deserve. And so now, what you have to do in the meantime to be single and satisfied is build your life. Build the kind of life that's the life of your dreams. Say this to yourself and think about this to yourself. The life that you wish you had that you could share with somebody else, what would it look like to build that life right now so that when you meet that person, they just step into place? Everything else is already there. You're building that life already. They just step into the place. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this makes sense. Single inside. Give me some hearts, y'all, please. Show me some love. If this blessed you, give me some hearts. Make sure you're sharing this. I hope this has blessed you. I hope this is making sense. I'm going to wrap up here, but I pray this has been a blessing. Give me some hearts, some likes. Share this, please, with your networks, with your friends. Share this on your page. I pray that this has been a blessing to you and has made sense. I pray that all of you who are watching are single and satisfied, that you find yourself in a place where you're content and you're happy and you're living a peaceful life. You're living a life of joy. You're living a life of contentment. That you're in a place in your life where you're pursuing purpose. You're pursuing destiny. You're walking out your purpose in your relationship with God. And you're healthy. Healthy physically, healthy emotionally, healthy spiritually, healthy financially. Let me just say this as we close here. And those of you who are trying to be single and satisfied, make sure that you're pursuing health on all levels. In other words, you should be healthy financially. Get your money together. And it's not about how much you make, but be prosperous and be blessed on your level. If you make $12 an hour, make sure you're not living above your means. Make that the best $12 an hour anybody's ever seen. So be healthy financially. Pay off debt and don't accrue a whole lot of extra debt. Build some savings. Sow into the kingdom. Make sure that you're in a healthy place financially. Secondly, get healthy physically. And I know the saints, sometime in the church, we don't like to talk about this, but get healthy physically. Get your eating habits together. Exercise. And I'm not talking about just walk with the Lord. I'm in the army of the Lord. No. I ain't talking about just walk with the Lord. Walk on the treadmill too. Walk on the treadmill and walk with Jesus. All right. Get your physical health together. Go get your doctor. Get checked out. Make sure your blood pressure's in order. Make sure your cholesterol's in order. Make sure all these things are in order. Health-wise, physical health. A part of physical health is rest. Learn how to go to sleep at night. Get yourself some rest. Make sure that you're in a healthy place physically. Thirdly, get healthy emotionally. This is important for many of us. Get healthy emotionally might mean you might need to go to therapy. You might need to go to counseling because you're dealing with some past pain, some hurts, some stuff in your life that you've dealt with. You're dealing with bitterness, resentment, whatever. Get healthy emotionally. That might mean counseling. If you're in a church, make sure you talk to your pastor and get some recommendations or referrals. I believe in counseling. You need Jesus and a therapist. Get healthy emotionally. You need Jesus and, let me say it again. You need Jesus and a therapist. All right. Get healthy emotionally. And then fourthly, get healthy spiritually, meaning that you and God are in a good place. Get your spiritual disciplines together. Get a word life, get a worship life, get a prayer life. Get in a good church and don't just go to church, but serve. Be faithful there. Tithe, give, serve. Give your time, your talent, your treasure. Be part of a community of believers. And a part of being healthy spiritually means get part of connected to a community of believers who can walk with you, who can love on you, and who can pray for you. Because sometimes many of us had the experience that it was the people around us that helped us to get through the rough patches of life. It was the people around us that pushed us, that encouraged us, that hugged us, that loved on us, that prayed us through the storms that we were in. All right. So get healthy in those 4 areas. I had a lot more to share that I didn't get through tonight. So y'all, I'm going to come back on and share this. So be looking out because I didn't even get to talk about Adam, the qualities that Adam had. Because watch this. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, when God said it's not good that the man should be alone, there were certain pre-qualifiers. There were certain conditions that Adam met in order for God to say it's not good that he should be alone. Watch this. Adam had already been created for a while before God said it's not good that he should be alone. So God doesn't look at everybody and say it's not good that they should be alone. There's certain kinds of people. There's certain conditions to meet in order for God to look at you and say it's not good that they should be alone. So next time I come on, I'm going to deal with what are the conditions that you need to meet for God to look at you and say it's not good that they should be alone. Pastor Sean Bell, Bishop Designate Sean Bell, my brother from Baltimore. Good to see you on, brother. Y'all pray for him. He's going to be consecrated as a bishop in the Lord's church this summer. I'm so proud of my brother. I'm excited for him and for all that God is doing there in Baltimore and Greater Paradise Church. So yes, get healthy. But like I said, next time I come on, I'm going to share 5 things that Adam had. 5 things that Adam had that caused God to say it's not good that the man should be alone. So again, I'm Pastor Quentin Mumphrey, the pastor of New Hope Church in Chicago, Illinois, on the Great South Side. Hope Nation in the house. Y'all can follow me on Twitter at Pastor Q Mumphrey. You can connect with me here on Facebook. Follow our church page. If you don't follow our church's page already, follow us at New Hope Covenant Church Chicago on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram at New Hope Chicago. And so, again, check out our website, nhccc3cs.org. Again, I'm Pastor Quentin Mumphrey. I'll be coming on again soon talking about 5 things. I should pass the plate, Lindsay Renee. I should pass the plate. Well, if you want to sow, you can go on to nhccc.org and you can sow your seed there to New Hope if you want to sow. Thank you all. Hope Nation in the house. That's right. That's our hashtag, Hope Nation. So again, I'm coming on soon. Next time I'm coming on talking about 5 things that Adam had that caused God to say it's not good that the man should be alone. 5 things that Adam had that caused God to look at him and say it's not good that he should be alone. So I hope you'll stay in tune. I'm going to come back on talking about these 5 things. One more time. Y'all just give me some heart. Show me some love before we log off here. Thank y'all. Again, this is Pastor Quentin Mumphrey, also known as Pastor Q, from the South Side of Chicago. All right. I love y'all. God bless you. I'm praying for you. Pray for your boy. I will see y'all real soon. Make sure you share this and I'll see you next time. Good night.